Mother's Day, and that is Mary Young, Josh and Jace's mom.
Green will get up, it is gone! A Young 2-run blast.
Way back and goodbye. A grand slam for Ben Rice blows it open.
And now the Mets have scored 4 times in the bottom of the 8th. Welcome to Chicago, Tim Elko. First big league hit absolutely crushed by Devers.
440 feet for Raffy.
11 strikeouts for Blanco.
Up against new career mark. 8 shutout innings of brilliant baseball and a standing ovation.
Well, ball outside. Walk it off. Raise to Johnny Rogers. Donnie Ball has arrived in the bird. Swung on a hit down the third base line, and that is winner.
And the Twins have won 8 straight ball games.
Coming in the best closer, don't care what he does. Here's a kid coming in against the best closer in the league, and you're only down by 2. This is a white flag.
Fly ball, pretty well hit to right field. Back goes Dye into the corner. Looks up. That ball is gone.
Like I said, it's a brilliant move. No, it's not. It's a lucky move. That's something that just absolutely happened, and it turned out well for the Expos.
Trying to think with Alou. I guess he figures the kid's a good fastball hitter, and he's got a fastball pitcher out there. It certainly worked. So it's a 1-run ball game. Wohlers has to shake that off.
This looked like a good pitch out away from him. May not have been a strike. But boy, he leaned out there and drilled it.
No doubt about it, off that screen.
There are 2 kinds of people in this world. Those who love Old Bay and those who've never tried it. Because once you taste this Chesapeake Bay seasoning, you'll immediately be turned into a canvert. Old Bay goes great on seafood, chicken, corn on the cob, French fries, pretty much anything. Join the Legion of Canverts in America. Pick up a can today. And before you know it, this could be you. Old Bay, the can that connects us.
Whoa! Down off base hit. Bani going to third. The strong throw. Oh, they got him. Vladimir Guerrero with a strike. Cuts down Benny Agbayani.
And a bad decision by Agbayani, trying to go to third with 2 men out. You cannot mix the first out or the third out at third base.
How about a pair of hands? Right fielder, good throw. No score.
The next 2-2. Davis to left and will hit. Oh my! It's gone! Santa Maria!
From high atop the Robinson Gearing Studio Complex and straight out of God's country, Pawleys Island, South Carolina, the Let's Talk Baseball Podcast Network proudly presents Backwards K-Pod. And now, here's the host of the show, Jake Robinson.
I never move in slow-mo. Welcome to my dojo. There's other parts of so-so. I'm chill like bro, yo. Focus like a GoPro. Ripping up this promo. Check out the scoreboard. Bring something one no. No, it's going, it's going, it's going. Yo, it's gone. Your heart just stopped. Cause Jake got strong and mighty. Undefeated, I mean it. Pull up the pot, scroll it down, then read it. Written, produced, directed, and mixed. Dog on your lips and Ozzy Smith backflips. Pick a tip, any tip, get onto it. I got ridiculous pods without forcing it. You sit at home crying like a girl while I spread the gospel around the world. Yo, the pods are written behind tracks that mix it smooth with the groove to make ears wanna listen. Add a little gut and a rhythm to back it up. Another show to my name, now watch them stack them up. You think another white rat pack, but this ain't no abject. Muhammad's the rhyme, some people try to be black but that. About time I come out, call the show BKP, now let me turn it out. Yo, name Jake the Saint Porter 71. Dates, you know what time it is, I'm packing them guns. Your experience, I've been a witness to glory, and that's why I collect ball players and their stories. You heard? So, Once again, back is the incredible, the pod animal, Jake the Snake Robinson from the Let's Talk Baseball Podcast Network. I'm coming out of Pawleys Island, South Kakalaki. Half man, half podcast machine, back in the Captain Kirk Taylor, shields down, photons up. Prepare to engage on this week's digital audio program that I call Backwards K-Pod, where we collect ball players and their stories. Good moment, baseball universe. What's cracking? Welcome back into the dojo for chapter 175 in the historical, anthological, and biographical accounting of the players, characters, moments, stadiums, managers, and all the pop culture references that have shaped our understanding and perspective of this beautiful tapestry of life we call baseball. I'm Jake Robinson. I got your hookup. Holler if you hear me. I'm joined in the studio this week, as usual, with my partner in crime, my most trusted of compadres, the fetusly Polonius feline of ferocity, my dude Charlie Gunn's little gunner, the chocolate tabby of tenaciousness, posting up in their BKP time travel scene diesel, munching on his catnip gummies, waiting to take us on our way to this week's baseball adventure. And I have quite the topic this week that begins in the Dominican Republic. So I'd like to get all you stragglers hanging out on the Terrapin Station platform to kiss and hug your loved ones goodbye and board the train as I make the final prep for departure. As I look to the west of Terrapin, I can see clearly into our immaculately manicured jewel box retro ball yard, down that left field line all the way to home plate, where our hometown BKP 9 have already taken the field in anticipation of tonight's game. Our starting pitcher has completed his warm-up tosses. The catcher has gone to the second with an absolute seed on the bag. The infielders now whipping that rock around the diamond with a little snap and swagger, and the home plate umpire has cleaned off the plate and called play ball. As the visiting team's leadoff stick makes his way to the dish, that's my cue to get this party started. I'm calling all aboard, as I will have Gunner set our time and destination for February 9th, 1975, to the backwaters of the Dominican Republic, a tiny town called Nizao Bani, where this week's baseball journey begins for the immortal Vladimir Guerrero. So, hurry, step right up, get in where you fit in, make yourself at home in our modern marvel of engineering and science. You can claim your real estate in one of our spacious lounges or post up in one of our private boxcars for this week's baseball adventure. As Gunner hits the necessary quantum speeds needed to hit 6.0 gigahertz on our spectrum analyzer, he's creating vast, anomalous, traversable wormholes, bending both baseball space and time, altering reality, tipping the celestial scales to our favor, getting us back to Nizao Bani, Dominican Republic, February 9th, 1975, as we come bearing the gifts of gold, myrrh, and frankincense for the birth of a baseball king and Vladimir Guerrero. And in all transparency and honesty, folks, one of my greatest thrills as a younger seamhead was spending my hard-earned cash to watch Vlad the Impaler play live baseball on a beautiful summer day. I mean, there was nothing like it. He was, for me, one of the most electrifying ball players of his generation, and his approach at the plate, well, it seems simple enough. See the ball, hit the ball really, really hard. He was, by definition, a force of nature with his thrilling style of play. While home run records were being shattered at video game levels during his era, Vladdy set himself apart from his peers by defying the baseball gods. And Leo the Lip the Roacher is credited with coining the term five-tool player when he managed the great Willie Mays. And in his analysis, every player that has ever played the game of baseball comes equipped with 5 tools in their everyday arsenal. And we know those 5 tools today as a player who can hit for average, hit for power, run, throw, and field. Now, the average player in the bigs has 2 or 3 tools in their tool belt. All-stars are usually blessed with 3 or 4. And iconic immortals have all 5 tools at their disposal. And there have only been really 10 of them in the history of the game. We're talking dudes like Willie Mays, Barry Bonds, Mickey Mantle, Mike Trout, Alex Rodriguez, Carlos Beltran, and this week's topic, Vladimir Guerrero. Blessed with 5 tool characteristics, Vladdy was flat out worth the price of admission. Just to watch the perfect blend of tools on any given day. He had a missile launcher for a right arm, and he would routinely catch runners trying to squeeze out an ill-advised extra base. He displayed blazing speed that belied his runner's form. He wasn't a smooth speedster like a Vince Coleman or a Byron Buxton of today. Instead, he ran like a colt, exploding out the gates of Prigness. He gouged all knees and elbows with long, choppy strides. And catching a runner who, for some reason, had a brain fart and decided to challenge his arm out in right field, or watching him leg out a triple with his blazing speed was the cherry on top. But it was his day in, day out hitting that could simply take your breath away. Now, the duel between a pitcher and a hitter is a complex struggle for supremacy and ownership of home plate. If a pitch was delivered upstairs or 3 feet outside, it didn't matter to Vladdy. He would swing at it. I had always heard the stories of Yogi Berra smashing an unhittable pitch outside the strike zone. Well, Vladdy was my generation's Yogi in that regard. I've seen Guerrero hit pitches off the bounce while sitting in Cam yards into left field for a base hit like he's a cricket player or something. And even though he can do all these amazing feats on the diamond, his presence loomed largest at the plate. A statuesque, athletically built man, he was a throwback to the old school, never wearing batting gloves, just his rock-hard big hands and a little pine tar and a dose of saliva for better grip. Pitching around Vlad was futile. On the first pitch, he hit .364 and slugged .660. He cranked out 126 bombs on the first pitch of his at-bats, and that's more than both Bonds and McGuire. On 3-1 counts, he was a stone-cold killer, hitting .417. Former Cubs pitcher Kevin Tampany used to lament how you could never pitch around Guerrero to get to the next batter, saying he could damn near hit any pitch you throw at him, and I would never feed him the same pitch twice in a row. In an era that was owned by the sluggers, putting up prodigious power numbers, Vladimir Guerrero's best years were played in front of sparse crowds in Montreal. Nevertheless, he was highly regarded by his peers and fans of the baseball universe. And here we are, Seamans, pulling up into Nizao Bani, Dominican Republic, February 9th, 1975, for the birth of Vladimir Alvino Guerrero and the beginning of this week's biopic. Now, as you can see, Nizao Bani is an impoverished small farm town in 1975, producing rice, onions, chilies, and tomatoes. Nowadays, the town is known as the city of luxury cars and baseball academies. But back in 1975, the residents live in virtual squalor with no electricity or running water. When Vladimir's mother, Altagracia, was 3 months pregnant with him, his father rolled out, and he never ever got the chance to meet him. Along with his 4 half-brothers, the Guerreros lived in horrific conditions. When Hurricane David slammed into the island nation in August of 1979, their house was left in barely livable conditions, the roof was blown off, and all 7 of his family members were forced to be crammed together in a little room where they shared 2 twin-sized beds. When Vladimir is 6, Altagracia makes the tough choice to leave the family, but unlike his father, Mom does not abandon the unit. Instead, she would illegally sneak into Colombia and Venezuela to work as maid and cook, sending her paychecks home and visiting her sons every other week. With no running water, Vladimir is forced to drink rainwater from the street puddles, and he spends his day barefoot, working in the fields, harvesting vegetables. And because of his need and desire to support his family, Vladimir quit school in the 5th grade. Now, because of his lack of education and the language barrier he faced in the United States, Vladdy was never one to grant, these deep one-on-one interviews with the press. He worked for his grandfather tending the cattle fields and credits his upbringing for his unbridled grip and upper body strength to herding the cattle, saying, "I had to bring them in. The bulls were stubborn. I had to pull them until they did what they were supposed to do. And this is where I get my strength." Players like David Cruz, Felix Perdomo, and Diamondbacks All-Star Keto Martell had since come out of Nizao since Wilton and Vladimir's ascension to Major League success. But when Vladimir was a child, Nizao Bani is not necessarily known as a hotbed for baseball talent, but baseball has an integral cultural connection to the community. And Vladimir would play on the dusty Dominican sandlots in his bare feet. Vladimir falls in love with the game, and after a hard day of farming, the boys in the hood can be seen swinging a guava tree limb at lemons rolled up in a pair of old socks for baseballs, and in the field, the kids would fashion baseball gloves out of milk cartons. By the time Vlad is 5 years old, he's already beasting the younger kids with his hitting abilities. He's a talented, low ball hitter in a game the kids call La Placa. The sandlot field has a license plate for home plate. As Vladimir is falling in love with the game and honing his craft, his older brother, Vladimir Guerrero, is establishing himself as the best player in Nizao Bani's history, drawing comparisons to Blue Jays shortstop Tony Fernandez. He would eventually sign with the Los Angeles Dodgers, and their brother Eliezer was another brother who excelled but didn't quite make it out of the Dodgers Academy. The youngest brother, Julio Cesar, signed a $750,000 signing bonus with the Boston Red Sox Class A team, but he would eventually wash out as well. In 1991, at the age of 16, he went to Campo La Palma, the Dodgers Academy, for a 4-week sessions, and he fails to impress the Dodger scouts. Self-admittedly, he was fat and out of shape. He had 0 foot speed, and he had a long, slow swing, which I can't even comprehend in my finite baseball brain. A chubby Vlad with a long, slow swing. Well, he takes the criticism to heart. He began shedding weight during his 2-month stay at the academy. The Texas Rangers come around sniffing at his fire hydrant, but they left unimpressed with the unpolished gem, and they too passed on him as well. But Montreal's Expos Latin American scout Freddie Pereira, the Shark of the Caribbean, he has had his eye on the young talent from the shadows, and he sees a diamond in the rough. He offers Vladdy a tryout for the Expos. Vladimir is almost on the threshold of a confidence crisis at this time after being rejected by the Rangers and Dodgers. When he's given the offer, he grabs a pair of mismatched spikes, 2 pairs of socks, jumps on the back of a friend's motorcycle, and heads off to show the Expos what he's got. In his first and only at-bat in the tryout, he pulls a muscle in his leg, running to first base. The youngster is nearly in tears, thinking it was just another pissed-away opportunity. But he's consoled and shocked when Pereira offers him an Expos contract with a $2,000 signing bonus 2 weeks shy of his 17th birthday. Pereira had been following young Vladdy for a while and was impressed with his arm, his decent foot speed, and his new trimmed-down physique told him that Vladimir will put in the work to meet his goals. Now, $2,000 in 1993 is worth around $4,500 today in 2025, which has to be one of the greatest investment deals ever made by the thrifty Montreal Expos. I mean, that's an absolute basement bargain price for what's to come. Upon realizing his scene dreams, Vladimir says his tearful goodbyes to family and friends and heads out to America to begin his professional baseball career. He hits the ground running and quickly begins rising through the Expos farm system. In 1994, he played 37 games for the Expos team in the Gulf Coast League, and he batted .314 with 5 home runs and an OPS of .928. The next season, he vaults into Baseball America's top 100 prospects at number 85 when he slugged 16 home runs with a .333 batting average for Class A Polecats of Albany, Georgia. Team skipper Doug Sisson had his coming-to-Jesus moment, impressed with Vladdy's raw talent and work ethic, and watching him eviscerate the league during the 1995 season. In reflection of managing the young talent, Sisson would say he was a hard worker and he had a almost childlike innocence about him. He just went out and played with a huge smile on his face. He never worried about messing up. And he goes on to say, as a kid, we all try to go out and do something great, and Vlad played that way every day. He just thought about how much fun he was having and how many great plays he could make during the course of any given game. In 1996, Guerrero has caught the eye of not only the pundits and prospect watchers, but more importantly, the Expos brass, after he crushes 24 home runs with 96 RBI, a .360, .431, .618 slash between AA and single-A ball. On September 19, 1996, Vladimir Guerrero makes his Major League debut, going 1 for 5 with his lone hit being a single off Atlanta Braves southpaw pitcher Steve Avery. 2 days later, he drills his first home run, an Abo Taco blast that hits the foul pole and right field at Full County Stadium off of Braves closer Mark Wohlers on a fastball that was low and away and a few inches off the plate. It's the only home run he hits in 9 games, and one of the only 5 hits he registers in 27 at-bats to finish with a 185 BA. And I played that clip at the top of the show, his very first home run, and the announcers, I trip out because the announcers are arguing whether it was a lucky call or a good call by Philip Ballou to send up Vladimir Guerrero as a pinch hitter. And the one guy says it was luck, and it's so funny because, like, yeah, he would go on to be lucky 449 more times in his career. That was not luck, my friend. As spring training 1997 breaks, Guerrero is ranked the second highest prospect in all of baseball behind only center field phenom Andrew Jones of the Atlanta Braves. And by the time the team flies north to Montreal, Vladimir wins a spot on the Expos roster as the starting right fielder. However, in spring training late March, he fouls a ball into his left foot, shatters the bone, delaying his season debut. Finally, on May 3rd, he makes his first appearance of the year at Jack Murphy Stadium against the San Diego Padres. and he goes hitless in 2 at-bats. The next day against the Fathers, he smashes his first stinger of the year off of Sterling Hitchcock as the Expos defeat the Friars 9-3. 3 days later, he would have the first of his many big games in his career, going 3 for 5 with a double, 2 singles, and an RBI, 3 runs scored in a 19-3 Expos rout of the San Francisco Giants. In a June 3rd, 1997 matchup against the Queensbridge Metropolitans, Vladimir gives a glimpse to the baseball universe of his defensive prowess and his intercontinetal ballistic missile launcher of a right arm. Mets second baseman Carlos Baerga hits a line shot down the right field line that stops rolling at the Shea Stadium fence. New York Mets catcher Todd Hundley is meat at the plate when a hustling Guerrero picks up the ball from the warning track, spins and fires a 1-bounce strike to catcher Darren Fletcher, who collides with Hundley at the plate but hangs on for the emphatic punch-out by the home plate umpire. And after the game, Mets manager Bobby Valentine, well, he didn't mince words when addressing that sterling play, saying, "That was just an awesome throw. That kid doesn't need a cutoff or a relay. That kid needs a bigger ballpark." After a second stint on the disabled list, Vladimir returns to action on June 21st to face the Florida Marlins. He drops dong. He adds 2 hits and an Expos 4-3 victory. Due to his 2 stints on the DL, he is limited to 90 games. He finishes with 11 home runs, 40 RBIs, 44 runs scored, and a 302, 350, 483 slash line with a 117 OPS plus. He also leads the National League in errors by an outfielder with 12, and he finishes 6th in National League Rookie of the Year voting. Vlad loved the city of Montreal, but between the English and the French languages spoken and the foreign food, he found himself culturally challenged in his new environment and high-profile occupation. He would have his mother eventually join him in Montreal, and Altagracia would cook for his son and act as a confidant soundboard to Vlad and his daily challenges. Whenever the two had leftovers, she would send her son off to the clubhouse with the extra food. And that's a tradition that continued when Vlad moved on to play with the Los Angeles Angels. In fact, that tradition is still carried on today on Vladimir Guerrero Jr.'s Blue Jays team. Vladdy's son brings the leftovers for his Blue Jays teammates and even offers it to players on the opposing team. It was also good to have manager Felipe Alou, who was also from the Dominican Republic, and fellow countryman, the reigning NL Cy Young Award-winning Pedro Martinez, in the Expos clubhouse with him as a young, impressionable talent. The two men took the talented phenom under their umbrella and mentored the kid about the intricacies of life in the majors. Pedro saw a lot of himself in the young star in Wake, and he vowed to be the kid's security blanket as long as he was playing in Montreal. He gives Vladdy the address to his apartment just in case he ever gets lost in the city. Unfortunately, Pedro's time as a teammate and has a short shelf life. The financially strapped Expos have come to the realization that they will never be able to afford the contract demands that Pedro is going to command on the open market as a free agent, and they trade their all-star ace to the Boston Red Sox during the offseason. Amidst the ruins of the 1998 season, which saw Montreal lose 97 games, Vladimir emerges as the team's new and ultimately the last Expos superhero. He finishes the season with 324, 371, 589 slash. He stacks 202 hits on the year. He slugs 38 home runs, drives in 109, posts a 7.4 WAR, finishing 13th and voting for the NL MVP. And after losing Pedro to big market Boston, Expos fans are adamant in their desire to keep their budding superstar in Montreal. The Expos franchise, which is now on life support, listened to their fan base and they signed Guerrero to a 5-year extension that runs through the 2003 season for $28 million, which is roughly $57 million in the 2025 economy. The good vibes continue for Vlad when his brother Wilton is acquired from the Dodgers through a 7-player deal and the two live with their mom in an apartment together. And I had the Death of the Expos show in my banging-ass Baltimore archives detailing how the Montreal Expos, in search of a new stadium deal, were in first place of the NL East before the 1994 player union strike derailed the team and set them on course for their eventual relocation to Washington, D.C. And in many ways, it serves as a prequel to the Vladimir Guerrero bio I'm doing this week. It's a great show, and if you haven't heard it yet, I highly recommend you go through that catalog and give it a listen. That's on all platforms, wherever you're listening to this now, or go to diamondsnakejake.podbean.com to hear Death of the Expos or any of the other 175 chapters of baseball history I got in that walk-in. So, with the future of the club mired in murkiness, Vlad, for the first time in his life, has financial security beyond his wildest dreams. The 5th grade dropout who was drinking rainwater out of street puddles back home in the Dominican now had 5 years of job security and a stack of cash. With his mind at ease, he kicks off the 1999 season with a bang, collecting 3 hits, 4 RBIs, including a first-inning home run off of Pittsburgh Pirates star pitcher Francisco Cordova, and a 9-2 opening day victory over the Buccos, with his brother Wilton chipping in 3 hits as well. On July 27th, Vladimir goes 1 for 2 in a 4-2 loss to the Chicago Cubs, and it's the innocent start to the longest Major League hitting streak in 12 years. On August 10th, the Impaler stays hot, smashing 2 big flies, driving in 4 runs in a 6-4 victory over the Dodgers. 10 days later, August 20th, he homers and he rakes out 2 singles to lead Montreal over the Reds 5-3. 3 days later, he hits 2 singles, hits an opposite field home run to right, and drives in 3 as the Expos beat the St. Louis Cardinals 11-7. On August 27th, the 31-game hit streak is snapped when he goes 0 for 2 with an intentional walk and a 4-3 loss to the Reds. The very next day, Guerrero exacts revenge on the Redlegs when he smashes a 2-out walk-off dong on Scott Williams to give the Spos an 8-6 win over Cincinnati. In the next to the last game, Vladdy smacks 2 dingers, drives in 6 as the Expos defeat the Phillies 13-3. And Guerrero by now is an absolute baller and is a quiet superstar playing in Montreal, finishing his 4th year with a sublime 316, 378, 600 slash line, a 4.4 WAR, 193 hits, 42 dongs, 131 ribs. He makes his first All-Star appearance. He finishes 11th in NL MVP voting, and he won his first Silver Slugger award. With Guerrero's emergence as one of the most exciting superstars in the game, and with all the endorsement opportunities at his disposal, Vladimir remains humble and committed to his Dominican roots. The 2000 Expos, they finished the season in 4th place in the NL East with a 67-95 record. Guerrero launched 44 home runs that year, finished with a 5.9 wins above replacement, and slashed 345, 410, 664. His notable moment of the year comes on April 26th when he cranks out home run number 100 of a Colorado Rockies relief pitcher, Julian Tavarez. In 2001 and 2002, Montreal has a combined win-loss record of 151 and 173 after the 1994 player strike had crushed the Expos and sent them spiraling to their bloody end. MLB proposes contracting the Twins and the Expos in 2001 as a ploy to put pressure on the players' union during negotiations for a new collective bargaining agreement. Major League Baseball would assume ownership of the franchise before the 2002 season, with owner Jeffrey Loria being granted permission by the league offices to purchase the Miami Marlins, leaving the future of the Expos in an even more state of uncertainty. But the uncertainty shrouding the Expos franchise, it has zero impact on Vlad, who continues to go out day in and day out and produce prodigious numbers. In 2001 and 2002, he has a combined slash of 322, 398, 580 with 73 home runs. He also steps up his running game, joining the 30-30 club both years, and he falls just one home run short of making the 40-40 club in 2002. Off the field, the Dominican sluggers served as an outstanding ambassador of the game for the Expos. He would often provide tickets to home games for 10 different Montreal youth groups, which enabled underprivileged kids to attend home games in l'Estade Olympique and cheer for the hero and home team. He also sponsored a youth league in the city, and he collected baseball equipment for young players back home in the DR, never forgetting his childhood days of having to fashion homemade bats, balls, and gloves just to play the game he loves with every fiber in his soul. In recognition of his humanitarian efforts, he was named the Expos Roberto Clemente Award nominee in 2001. Vladimir was busy compiling a Hall of Fame resume, but the one thing missing was a postseason appearance. In 2002, Hall of Fame slugger turned manager Frank Robinson was hired by Major League Baseball to sprinkle his magic dust on the franchise. Frank had developed a reputation through the years as a no-nonsense skipper who had turned previous dumpster fire organizations into contenders. By year 2, as the skipper has the team contending for a wildcard berth, but the season looks to be coming off the rails after Vlad injures his back during a game against the Marlins in late May. For the first time in 6 years, Vlad finds himself on the DL with a herniated disc, and the team limps to an 18-29 mark with Guerrero on the shelf. But from August 13th to the 28th, a healthy Vlad comes back. He carries Montreal into the thick of a pennant race, batting .327 with 5 home runs and 41 RBIs. But even Vladdy's white-hot bat couldn't prevent the team from fading down the stretch, and the Expos finished the year with an 83-79 mark. Despite his lengthy stay on the DL, that year he still manages to squeeze out another productive campaign with a .334, 26, 586 slash line, 25 home runs on the year. In his most notable game of the 2003 campaign, he leads the Expos to a 7-3 win over the Mets, hitting for the cycle and driving in 3 runs. And with all the ambiguity surrounding the Expos in the future, it was pretty much fait accompli that Vlad would not be resigning with the team once he decided to test the free agent market. The Expos did offer an extension for 5 years, $75 million, which Guerrero politely rejected. And he's pursued by the Orioles, the Mets, and the Dodgers. The Orioles offered him a 6-year, $78 million deal, and the Mets offered 5 years for $71 million, but with only 3 years and $30 million of a guarantee. The Mets couldn't obtain insurance in the event of another back injury, but Angels' new owner, Artie Moreno, is willing to roll the dice. The Halos, with their new owner, were looking to make a splash after winning the first World Championship the year before, and That summer, they had signed pitchers Bartolo Colon, Kelvin Escobar, and outfielder Jose Guillen. And out of seemingly nowhere, Moreno reels in the big free agent fish. He signs Vladdy to a 5-year, $70 million deal that includes a $5 million signing bonus and a $15 million option for the 2009 season that includes a $3 million buyout. And check it out, freaks. I think this is where we're going to drop the curtain for Act 1 of the Vladimir Guerrero biopic. I'm going to take this chance, pull my candy apple red Ferrari into the pits to change out the C4 medium compound tires for a batch of C3 soft, which I believe will give me the best chance to dig into the grid and finish up Acts 2 and 3 with a podium finish. When we return, I'll pick up right where I left off as Vladimir Guerrero has tested the free agent market and he's leaving the city of Montreal for the sunny skies of SoCal to begin with his new lease on his baseball life as a member of the world champion Los Angeles Angels. Let me hook my boy up, Gunner, with well-deserved treats for a great first segment ode. Rip the tube or two of this righteous flower I'm holding. Hydrate. Formulate a story arc for Acts 2 and 3 of Vladimir Guerrero's baseball journey. I'm gonna head out like a newborn, pay some bills, BRB C-Mids, meet me on the dark side of the moon.
Today, I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth.
Jackie Robinson, 13 home runs to the left field stand.
Here comes Roger Harris. There's a new home run champion of all time. I don't believe what I just saw.
Talbot Jr. has reached the unreachable star.
This crowd on its feet and in unison.
This one has a chance. Home run. Mike Piazza. The Boston Red Sox are world champions.
Welcome to the first night of MLB Network.
Number 600 for Jim Tony. That ball is gone.
106. That would be a new record.
It is hard. Oh, what a catch by Mike Trout. The Cubs have finally won it all.
The Atlanta Braves are world champions. After a high pitch, and baby, did he tomahawk that into the upper deck. My, oh my, what a shot by Vladimir Guerrero. He went up and got that, baby.
Like we spoke about, the guy can handle pitches in all sorts of places. Jamie Moyer tried to jam him, didn't get it there, but that's the 5th home run that Vladimir's hit off of the Mariners this year. Yeah, he's thrown the ball well this evening.
Look at Torrialba set up way inside. Well hit deep into the night, going way back left field, upper deck. Goodbye baseball. Holy smokes, Guerrero got green lighted 3-0. This one is way back down the left field line. His second upper deck shot tonight. He now has 25 home runs for the season, and it ties the game.
Howdy, y'all. This is Big Tex Gage Geek, executive producer of Backwards K Pod. In Texas, we do everything big. After football and golf, there's probably nothing I love more than going fishing and enjoying a good crawfish boil. The only thing I dislike about going fishing is the lingering odor it can leave on your hands afterwards. Well, the Fish and Hand Cleaner is an all-natural liquid soap perfect for overpowering fish and bait odors from your hands. I can't tell you how many times I've eaten steamed crabs, lobster, shrimp, crawfish, and then washed my hands with regular soap, only to touch my eyes half hour later, and my face begins to melt off due to the damn Cajun Old Bay spices. Well, we also have a hand cleaner, specifically formulated to use after eating shellfish and other seafoods. perfect for cleaning spicy, smelly hands after a Texas-sized seafood feast. In these cases, don't settle for anything less than our crawfish hand cleaner, our crab hand cleaner, or the fishing hand cleaner. An ingenious trifecta of natural hand soaps developed and owned by a disabled Navy veteran. He and Jake have a true connection as they were boot camp shipmates all the way back in 1989. So he is family, folks. And one thing we do here at the Let's Talk Baseball Podcast Network is look out for family. So you can support two grassroots companies by two former shipmate Navy vets. Crushing big bowls of shellfish or fishing on the banks of your favorite river while you listen to BKP. Sounds like a great day. You know, in fact, hey Ma, where are my poles? I'm gone fishing. There's also a buffalo wing hand cleaner in development as we speak. To check all of the incredible products of this great company, you can go to www.crawfishhandcleaner.com or call the home offices at 713-588-0290. That's 713-588-0290 to support the grassroots company that supports your grassroots podcast show. That's crawfishhandcleaner.com or 713-588-0290 to prepare for your summertime shellfish feast or that fishing trip you're planning. crawfishhandcleaner.com.
Texas Rangers this year. To even have them in the race this last week is a miracle. A lot of Ranger fans will tell you that.
Texas has gone from 91 losses last year to 86 wins this year. And Guerrero with a high shot deep to left, and the Angels are in front in the first. There's a pitch to hit, and he wraps it in the alley, right center field. Gloss races around third, and he will come home to score, and the Angels are in front 2-0. Looks like this guy is really heating up. He is just 4 hits shy of 200 this year. Got the batting average over 330 again, and he whistles that one into left field. He's 3 for 3. A drive to deep left field, and Guerrero's done it again. Wow. That was like it was shot out of a cannon, Jose.
Unbelievable the way he was able to get on top of that pitch. Is he hot or what? And is he saying, hey, Halos, jump on, I'm carrying you? Unreal. This ball was way out of the zone. Up above the belt. Lefty Tattoo did not say he's in fuego. And say, fue la bola, Jose. Way out of here, adios. That is gone.
Welcome back into the Let's Talk Baseball Podcast Network, and this is Backwards K-Pod, where we collect ball players in the stories. And before I went all Tim Hardaway and did the UTEP two-step crossover dribble hard to the rack, I was giving you the story of the life and baseball journey of the great Vladimir Guerrero, the former five-tool beast from Nizao Bani in the Dominican Republic, would rise from abject poverty to become a baseball immortal. Guerrero is a hard-working kid who drops out of school in the 5th grade to harvest the fields and herd cattle in order to support his family of 7. In his spare time, Vladdy is like most red-blooded Dominican boys, and he has an abiding love for the game of baseball. The hours spent herding bulls has made the kid powerful for his age. At the work, he would get together with his boys to hone his skills in the game of baseball. The impoverished boys would find clever and inexpensive ways to play. They used tree limbs for bats. Their balls were made from lemons wrapped in socks, and they would fashion milk cartons into homemade baseball gloves. After his brother, Wilton, is signed by the Dodgers, the raw, unpolished Vladimir decides to take a shot with his brother's team. But the dudes running the Dodgers Academy were not impressed with his younger half-brothers. His bat speed was subpar to Major League standards, and his swing was long and loopy. To top it off, he has no patience to his approach, swinging at damn near anything and everything near the plate, a practice that would follow him into the bigs, as he is one of the greatest bad ball hitters in the history of the game. But his worst flaw in the eyes of the Dodgers was his body and conditioning, as, believe it or not, he was chubby, slow-footed kid. And after listening to the scathing rejections of the Dodgers and the reasons why Guerrero makes a concerted effort to shave off the LBs, the Texas Rangers would also extend an opportunity to scout Vladdy, but they shared the same critiques with the Dodgers scouting analysis, and they decided to pass on as well, which, sidebar freaks, the Rangers of the 90s, they would have been monsters with Vladimir in that lineup. Pudge, Rodriguez, Rafael Palmeiro, Juan Gonzalez, a real butterfly effect moment there. And I'm not sure if they would have had the pitching needed to challenge their playoff nemesis of the 1990s New York Yankees, but that lineup, for sure, would have been stout and threw up crazy numbers. I think the Rangers actually really missed out there. After being rejected by Texas and the Dodgers, Vladimir is resigned to the fact that he probably has missed his chance and is destined to live his life shackled by the chains of poverty. Unbeknownst to Vlad, Expo scout Fred Pereira has been quietly in the shadows keeping tab on the young talent, and he offers the boy an opportunity to try out for the team, and the new and improved Vladimir shows up lean, mean, and ready to shine. Unfortunately, he pulls a hamstring muscle running to first and is only at bat in the tryout, and he's convinced that he has, again, missed a shot. But what he fails to realize is that the Expo scout, Fred Pereira, has been following him from afar and loves the 17-year-old's work ethic, his cannon for an arm, as well as his speed, which has improved since he's lost all the weight. And Pereira sees an unpolished gem with a high ceiling, and he signs young Vladimir to a contract with the Expos with a $2,000 signing bonus attached to it. $2,000 in 1992. It has the economic power of $4,500 today in 2025, which is peanuts in comparison to his abundance of talent and the career numbers that he would post. He leaves his tiny island nation to begin his baseball career and immediately raises his minor league profile on the Expos farm. 2 years later, he gets called up to the show for a cup of coffee when the rosters expand in September. In 1997, Vladimir is invited to Expo spring training camp, and despite breaking his foot, he makes the big league roster at a camp, but he misses the first month of the season. Once he makes his season debut, Guerrero immediately makes a positive impact on the club, and seamheads in the baseball universe are beginning to take notice. In the beginning of his major league tenure, he experiences a lot of culture shock in his new country, and he befriends Expos manager Philippe Alou and reigning LLC Cy Young Award winner Pedro Martinez. He also brings his mother to Canada and begins to find his comfort zone. During his 8-year tenure in Montreal, Guerrero becomes one of the most electrifying all-around talents of the game. And for a sport ruled by the belligerent power of the home run hitting sluggers of the era, Vladimir was different, dominating the game with his blend of speed, defense, average, and power. In his 8 years in Montreal, he accumulated a 59.5 WAR, smashes 234 home runs, driving in 702 runs, stole 123 bags, a 140 OPS plus, and a superb 323, 390, 588 slash line. Despite his gaudy numbers year in and year out, participating in the postseason had eluded the amazing talent, as the Expos were still reeling from the 1994 player strike that robbed the talented but financially strapped team the chance to play in the postseason. By 2003, the future of the team is grim. Vladimir is set to test the free agent market. He's looking for a payday, but more importantly, Vlad wants to compete for titles. As the most prioritized position player on the free agent market, the Expos, the Orioles, the Mets, and Dodgers began positioning themselves with the free agent offers to Vladdy. But it would be the Angels under new owner Artie Moreno that would shock the baseball universe, swooping in and signing the generational talent to a 5-year, $70 million deal. The Angels, who had won the World Series in 2003, were looking to make a splash and to go all in defense of the crown. Vladimir's first April in Halo's gear was highly productive. He hits .326 with 6 home runs, 15 RBIs for the month, and the team goes 13-10. But it was down the stretch in the month of September that the Angels' investment in Vladdy pays off in spades. On September 1st, the Cherubs sit 3 games behind the first-place Oakland A's. Vladdy takes his game to another level, hitting .326 with 11 home runs, 25 RBIs for the month, as the Angels overtake the A's to win the AL West and take the divisional crown. And finally, Vladimir would have a chance to display his talents on the national stage in his first postseason experience against the Boston Red Sox. The Halos would drop games 1 and 2, with Vladimir being relatively quiet. In Game 3, the Angels overcome a 6-2 deficit in the 7th when Vladdy smashes a grand slam home run off a Red Sox reliever, Mike Tinlin, to tie the game up at 6s. But in the end, David Ortiz would melt a 2-run home run off of Jared Washburn to complete the 3-game sweep for Boston. Even though the Cherubs would choke out the Boston, the risk versus reward of signing Vlad, it yielded net positive returns and was worth every single penny. Every single penny that Moreno had sunk into his free agent. Throughout his career in Montreal, Guerrero was always recognized for his immense talent, but he performed in relative obscurity. Now in a major market and a financially stable franchise, and with the playoff appearance under his belt, Vladimir receives recognition for his greatness, winning the American League Most Valuable Player Award with a final slash line of .337, .391, .598, 39 home runs, a league-leading 366 total bases, 126 RBI, and a WAR of 5.6. It was the 5th time in baseball history that a player switched leagues and won the MVP in his first season with a new team in a new league. Manager Mike Sosa tells reporters that the team had high expectations for Vladimir, and he met every single one of them. He single-handedly carried us down the stretch, and all the Major League Baseball had eyes on Vladdy. He had an incredible season, and his performance speaks volumes about the talent he possesses. The next season, the Angels again win the division, and Guerrero sees a slight dip in his production as he finished the year batting .317 with 32 home runs and 109 rim sandwiches. In the ALDS against the Yankees, Vlad hits .333. He leads the team to a first-round upset of New York in 5 games. However, the season comes to a crashing end as the White Sox held Vladimir in check to a minuscule batting average of .50, defeating the Angels en route to the White Sox first World Series title since 1959. Between 2006 and 2008, Guerrero slashes .314, .384, .541. He averages 29 home runs. The Halos win consecutive division titles in 2007 and 2008, but they wind up losing to Boston in both of those years of playoffs in the division series round. In those 7 playoff games versus Boston, Guerrero torches Red Sox pitchers for a .360 batting average. In 2009, now being used primarily as a DH, Guerrero has a lackluster season, playing in just 100 games while making 2 stints on the disabled list, hitting 15 home runs and driving in 50. And the Angels once again take the divisional crown and are on a collision course with the Red Sox once again in the post. This time, the Cherubs exact revenge on the Sox by sweeping Boston and punching their tickets in the ALCS to square up against the New York Yankees. After dropping games 1 and 2 to the Yankees and the Boogie Down Bronx, the Angels are desperate to get a win in Game 3, and the bottom of the 6th with the Halos trailing the Bombers 3-1. Guerrero slams a 2-run shot off of Yankee southpaw Andy Pettit to tie the game that they would eventually win in 11 innings. In Game 5, with the Angels in a 3-1 deficit, living life on the brink of elimination, Guerrero hits an RBI single in the bottom of the 7th to tie the score at 6. Kendry Morales would follow it up with another RBI single, and the Angels have new life behind the 7-6 victory. In the end, though, the Yankees were just too good. The Bombers win the series in Game 6 with a 5-2 victory, ending Anaheim's World Series aspirations. And just as he had done in 2004, Vladdy steps up and carries the club when they need him most. His final stat line for the ALCS and has him batting .370 with 10 hits and 5 RBI. By this time in his career, the injuries are beginning to pile up on Vladdy. He partially separated his shoulder while diving headfirst into home plate in 2005, causing him to miss 3 weeks of games. In 2008, he needs surgery to repair a torn meniscus in his right knee. And Father Time is a relentless, unforgiving son of a bitch as Vladimir's body begins to decline and fall apart. In an exhibition game against the Dodgers, Vladdy tears his right pec muscle after making a throw to third base from right field, a throw he had been thrilling crowds with since his rookie campaign. After the 2009 season, Vladdy leaves the Angels and sets up shop in the hitter's ballpark that was the ballpark in Arlington to play for the Rangers. As a full-time designated hitter, he enjoys his last productive season as a major leaguer with a .345, .496 slash, 29 home runs, 115 RBIs, leading the Rangers all the way to the first World Series appearance to face the Giants. And this series was different from all of his other postseason appearances. In his first at-bat, in his first World Series game, he has an RBI single off a Giants ace, Tim Lincecum, to give Texas a 1-0 lead. But he goes hitless in his next 13 at-bats as the Rangers tap out in 5 games. For the 2010 postseason, including his only World Series appearance, Guerrero had a pedestrian .220, .242, .271 slash line with no dogs. Father Time remains undefeated as he had finally caught up to Vladimir and prepares to cut his mortal cord. After the World Series loss, Vladdy is again on the free agent market, and this time he signs with the Baltimore Orioles for the 2011 season. It was a disappointing season by the 36-year-old standards as he finishes with a .290 BA, 313 home runs, 63 RBIs. The Orioles release a legend after the season, and as the 2012 season approaches, Vladdy remains unsigned. On May 10th, 2012, he signs a minor league deal with the Toronto Blue Jays. In his first game for the Class A Dunedin Blue Jays, he smacks a home run. In his first 20 at-bats, he drops 4 bombs and was promoted to the XXX Las Vegas 51s. He bats .303 in Sin City, but on June 12th, he asks for and is granted his unconditional release. After his brief minor league stint, Vladimir returns to where it all started, back home to the Dominican Republic. On November 4th, 2012, he signs with the Winter League Tigres del Licey, but after 2 weeks, Guerrero quits after being told he will be used primarily as a pinch hitter. He puts together a promotional video and distributes them throughout the leagues in hopes of joining just one more chance at the show. But the only club interested in his comeback was the Long Island Ducks of the Independent Atlantic League. An offer the proud baseball warrior declines. On September 14th, Vladimir Guerrero, the Impaler, announces his retirement from baseball during a radio interview in the Dominican Republic, citing his family as his main priority from here on out. In the interview, he admits his biggest regret was not reaching the 500 home run milestone. And here's a stat about Vladdy that I find to be profound. He and former shortstop Gary Templeton are the only players in Major League history to have a third of their walks come intentionally. Which, that blows me away. First of all, I would think Barry Bonds would have at least equaled that mark. And secondly, I would have never guessed in a million years that Gary Templeton owns that record as well. I mean, Gary Templeton was a promising shortstop with a potent bat for the Cardinals before souring himself on Cards management. And they happily expedited his departure with a trade to San Diego for Ozzie Smith. The Wizard takes over in St. Louis, and Templeton's career fizzles in the Gaslamp District. I mean, who the hell is intentionally walking Templeton when he's playing San Diego? That's just one of those stats that leaves your head scratching. In 2015, his son Vladimir Guerrero Jr. signs a $3.9 million deal with the Blue Jays at the age of 16. He has since gone on to carve out his own legacy in Canada, just like his pops, and recently signed a huge multi-year extension with the Jays, cementing himself as a foundation piece for the city and the club. Unlike his paternal father, Vladimir has always been there for his son with analysis or just fatherly support. In June of 2012, Vladimir is hit with paternity suit by a woman named Heidi Ogando. The court ordered that his financial details be released, and it was revealed that he had fathered 8 children with 5 different women and was paying almost $26,000 a month in child support payments. The report also revealed that Guerrero had accumulated over $25 million in stocks and bonds throughout his playing career. In January of 2017, Guerrero missed selection into the National Baseball Hall of Fame by a mere 15 votes in his first year of eligibility, as Jeff Bagwell, Tim Raines, Ivan Rodriguez, John Sherholtz, and Bud Selig were enshrined. However, on January 24th, 2018, a year later, Vladdy earns 92.2% of the vote to join Chipper Jones, Jim Tomei, and Trevor Halpin for an impressive induction class into the Pantheon of Immortals. Adding to that class were former Tigers ace Jack Morris and shortstop Alan Trammell, who were elected by the Veterans Committee. The induction made Vladimir the first Dominican position player to achieve the honor. Rangers third baseman Adrian Beltre will be the second, and Guerrero looks forward to the day when he will be joined by fellow countrymen David Ortiz and Albert Pujols. Despite having his best years while wearing Expos gear, it is announced that Vladimir would wear an Angels hat on his Hall of Fame plaque, the first player from the Angels franchise to do so. Through an interpreter, a conflicted Vlad said he would forever be thankful to the Expos and to the beautiful people in the city of Montreal. And he would go on to admit that it was sad that the team no longer existed, but it made the decision to wear the Angels hat on the plaque a little easier. With Vladimir's induction, he becomes just the third Dominican player to be immortalized after pitchers Pedro Martinez and the Dominican dandy Juan Marichal. When he returns to his island home after voting totals were announced, he is greeted at the airport by music and dancers. His fellow countrymen and women paid their respects by throwing the Hall of Famer a small parade in his honor. Vlad acknowledges the crowd, saying, "This honor is for the entire Dominican Republican nation. It's for all of us. This is proof that you have to pursue your dreams. When I signed with the Expos, there were a lot of people saying I wouldn't last longer than 3 months and that I would surely be released. Today I can say I played in the big leagues for 16 years and I have a plaque in the Baseball Hall of Fame. Nothing is impossible." He was a throwback to an era when your superstars were multi-dimensional, a beautiful blend of speed, power, defense, a time when batting gloves were shunned and pine tar was the badge of honor. Guerrero wasn't about style points. He didn't do theatrics. He dug into the box. He swung as hard as he could at nearly every pitch. And trying to sneak a fastball past Vladdy was like trying to throw a pork chop past a hungry wolf. What he left behind in substance was a 5-tool legacy highlighted by power, speed, defense, and raw production. And of all the witty observations made about Vladimir Guerrero and his unique skill set, former Angels hitting coach and former catcher Mickey Hatcher put it with succinctness when he said, "Vladdy had the most amazing hand-eye coordination I ever saw, and opposing pitchers knew it. To throw a pitch against him that he couldn't hit, you'd have to throw a pitch against him that the catcher can't catch." And with the profound Mickey Hatcher quote to wrap up the Vladimir Guerrero bio, this is where I'm going to draw the curtain on this biopic and put a big, beautiful backwards K next to Vladdy's name in the scorebook. But before I pot these mics down till our next start, let's take one last look at those so lovely stats and accolades Vladimir Guerrero left behind on his Hall of Fame resume. Okay, what do we got here? Vladimir Albino Guerrero, a.k.a. Vladdy, a.k.a. Vlad the Impaler. Born February 9th, 1975 in Nizao Bani, Dominican Republic. On September 19th, 1996, at the age of 21, Vladimir Guerrero becomes the 16,998th man in the history of the planet Earth to join the MLB fraternity when he makes his big league debut against the Atlanta Braves, going 1-for-5. 16-year Major League career with the Expos, Angels, Texas Rangers, and the Orioles. A career WAR of 59.5, 2,147 games played, 9,059 plate appearances, 1,328 runs scored, 2,590 hits, 477 doubles, 46 triples, 449 home runs, 1,496 RBIs, 181 stolen bases, 94 times caught, 985 strikeouts, to 737 walks, which is more strikeouts than walks. But Vladimir wasn't there to take walks. He liked to swing his lumber at virtually every pitch that approached him. And check it out, that dude never struck out more than 95 times in a season. Of all the players to hit at least 449 career home runs, only Stan the Man Musial, the Splendid Splinter, Ted Williams, Larry Lou Garrett, and Mel Ott struck out less frequently than the Impaler. His career batting average of .318 is the 63rd best overall average in the history of the game. His .379 OBP was the 196th best. And his .552 slugging percentage is the 27th best in baseball history. And he's sandwiched between Jim Tomei at 26 and Big Papi David Ortiz at 28. 4,506 total bases, the 50th most in the history of the game, 140 OPS plus, 2004 American League MVP, 9-time All-Star, 8 Silver Slugger Awards, 2010 Edgar Martinez Award recipient given to the best designated hitter in the American League, 9-time MLB Player of the Week, 6 times as NL Player of the Week, 3 times as AL Player of the Week, 6 times Player of the Month, 5 times in the National League, once in the American League, the 2007 Home Run Derby winner, 2017 induction into the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame. In 2018, his second year of eligibility, Vladimir collects 92.9% of the possible votes to earn inclusion amongst the immortals in the National Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, New York. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, seamheads of all ages, this has been the story of Vlad the Impaler, Vladimir Guerrero. I would never charge you freaks for the baseball content offered up here on BKP. No Patreon, no Twitch, no pay-to-play bonus subscriptions. I'm just going to keep coming through every week with that free baseball smoke.
You don't want that smoke.
And I'm going to keep it consistent like Joe Mauer. I'll be up bright and early for a bullpen session, working up a sweat, waiting for my next start in the rotation, and I promise, nerds, I'll try to be better next week. You like the show? Rate me as you see fit. I ain't scared. I'll do what I do when I do it. And no one does it better than the Heartbreak Kid out of Pawleys Island, South Kakalaki. So share with all your Seaman buddies. Check me out on TikTok and YouTube under the Backwards K-Pod heading. You can email the show backwardskpod@gmail.com. On the social media site, formerly known as Twitter, the show handle is @back_K_podcast. Or you can always find me chilling with my crew on the Let's Talk Baseball Podcast Network private Facebook group page. Answer the questions so I know you're not a bot, and come on in and join the chaos. As Gunner makes his way up the tracks, feverishly trying to get you back, signal back to your loved ones awaiting your return at Chairman Station, I could see the Vladimir Guerrero story getting smaller and smaller in our rearview mirrors. So with that, I turn my steely-eyed glaze onto I never say die baseball hydra. I reach under my kimono, grab my katana blade, and I chop the head off that beast, only to see 2 more baseball topics appear in its place. Next week, we're going to talk about a player whose clutch bat and blazing speed would take his legend from the Sandlot Diamonds of Miami, Florida, all the way to the National Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, New York. Next week, I give to you the baseball life and journey of the Hulk, Andre Dawson, one of my favorite players as a kid. Okay, so I think I accomplished my goals this week. Bitty see, I came, I saw, I conquered like a pimp. Thank y'all for coming out. God bless and win the day. Me and my partner, Charlie Guns, we're throwing our Gunnar Hendersons high into the sky, y'all. That's our number 2, nerds. As in peace. We got the Hulk, Andre Dawson, on deck. What a beautiful player. Can't wait. Sounds fun. See ya.